mentioned. So just let me know if you can see my screen. Sorry, you may be hearing some background noise. I'm very close to one religious center here. They will soon finalize their prayers. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. So this is just like I mentioned, the test one for tax. Like I mentioned, my name is Idris. I'm a tax consultant by profession, and I also take tax lectures. All right. So, what is tax in the first place? Um, is there anyone on the call? Norma Blessing. What is tax itself? Do you have an idea what it is?
I can
You
also.
can just unmute and speak. You can unmute and speak. Hello. Hello.
Hello,
Listen.
sorry. I can
I said
hear
I
you,
cannot
sir.
see.
I can hear you, sir.
Oh, you don't know anything about tax? How many people do I have here? I have 4 persons. Okay, by myself. All right. So tax is a compulsory levy, right? It's a payment that you made to the government. Like you see on the screen there, it's a payment you made to the government to finance economic activities within a particular country, right? You may be you may quite be aware that there's nothing like oil money again. Yes, there's still oil money in some sense, but mostly what the government of Nigeria depends on now is the money that comes from taxes. And if I may ask again, if you have, I know some of us are working, right? If you have the opportunity not to pay tax at your place of work, would you want to pay? Is it something that you pay just because you're a citizen of Nigeria, or you pay it because they force you to pay it? Please, I want the class to be conversational, right? Elanco, if you're working and someone say at the end of the month, I'm going to take so amount of money from your income. Is this something that you would like? Is this something that you'd be happy to give out?
As for me, it's not something I'll be happy to give out. Oh. It's just because I'm being forced. That's why I'm paying it.
Oh, you're paying it because you're being forced to pay it. All right,
Yes,
thank you
sir.
for that response. Number, would you want to pay it? Number, number. Is this something you would pay freely, or do you go with what Blessing just say? Hello. Okay. I would assume that you want to go with what Blessing says. So nobody really wanted to pay taxes, right? Nobody is really happy to pay taxes. But it's a compulsory levy. That's why we need to pay it. I'm very sure that if at the place of your work they tell you that you are going to be taking 100 naira per month, and probably by error the accountant gave you 100 naira, and the accountant came back to you to say, "Oh, Blessing, sorry, I'm supposed to take 5 naira from your money. You're supposed to pay I'm supposed to give you 95 naira. But erroneously, I gave you 100 naira. I'm very sure you would have 1,001 reasons why you would not want to give out the 5 naira back. That's when you now start remembering, oh, there's one elder sister of mine that I have to give the money. In fact, I have lots of things on my desk. But if that money has been taken out of your pay before they give you, you don't have any other choice than to just cut your clothes according to your clothes, right? So what we are saying here is
Sir.
taxes is not something that yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening. Someone said, sir.
I can hear you,
I'm
sir.
listening. Okay. So it's not something that you would people like to give freely. It's not, it doesn't come freely like that. People are forced to pay it, but it's a compulsory levy. That's what I want you to know, that taxes is not something that you think you just want to give the government. It is compulsory. When we say something is compulsory, it means by legislation of Nigeria, it is compulsory that you give it out. And as much as the government has been able, I don't want you to debate why governments, there are some things I may be saying, just take it as it is. I know you would have a contrary opinion, right? But in the real sense, your opinion doesn't matter when it comes to taxes. Whether why should you pay Nigerian government money when there is insecurity everywhere? That is none of your business. The business that you have is to make payments to the government. It is compulsory. Whether the government provide you security, whether the government provide you necessary infrastructure, it is mandated on every citizen. It is a civil responsibility that if you are in Nigeria today, working in Nigeria, earning income in Nigeria, you must part with some parts of your income as taxes to the government. So it's compulsory. It's not voluntary. It's a compulsory payment levied by the government through its agents. When I mean through its agents, the government is not everywhere. The government has agents that it uses to get all these taxes from us. For instance, if you're in employment and you've not been doing any other thing. There are some of us that have side hustle, and there are some of us that are in employment. If you're in employment and you are not doing anything again, the company which we work with, that you are working for, is the agent of the government, meaning that it is that company that will collect that taxes from your income and remit it over to the government at the end of the day. Right? So that company is the agent of the government in that regards. It's a compulsory agent, is like it's not a voluntary agent principal relationship. It's compulsory agent principal relationship. Meaning that any employer in Nigeria today engaging people to work for him, as part of the payment you are making to that person, you must have deducted what we call taxes from their income. If you fail to deduct, then you are likely to pay back. You are likely to cough out that taxes in the case of an audit or investigation from the government. So it is being collected by the government through its agents on the income of citizens. We have two types of citizens in Nigeria. We have what they call the individual and the corporate citizens, right? Individual are you and I. Individuals just like you see yourself earning income. And we also have what we call artificial persons. Yeah, we have corporate bodies that are also seen as an individual in their own rights. So they also make money, and from the money they are making, they are also mandated. It's compulsory that they part with certain percentage of their income to the government as taxes, or their properties to achieve some goals, or their properties. When they say their properties, it is most likely that you don't have any cash income coming to you. The income can come in form of capital appreciation, right? Can maybe you dispose your property, you bought a property or a car for 1 million naira and you dispose it for 1.5 million naira. The gains on it, that's on disposal of property. That gains that you earn on it is also liable to taxes. For instance, individuals like you and I, if we disposed, there are some assets that you disposed, that you'll be liable to make payment of tax on, not only the income that you get from employment from your employer. If I'm too fast, please just drop a chat for me. If you have a question, drop the chat on the chat box. I'll pick it up from there. Right? Sorry. If I look at the chat box, I'll see the question and pick it up from there. If you have a question along the way. All right. We said taxes paid in Nigeria, quid pro quo. This is a Greek word, quid pro quo, meaning that you pay it without expecting anything in return. So that's why we call it compulsory. It's not. I've had reasons to speak with some colleagues. They'll tell you, they pay taxes. I don't even know what the government is doing with our taxes. Tinubu is buying presidential yachts. They are flying abroad. That is none of your business. The business that you have is to fulfill your own civil responsibility, is to pay your tax. It's a compulsory levy. That's why we said taxes are paid quid pro quo, right? So it's very clear that you need to distinguish what taxes is and what taxation is. Who can tell me, Blessing, what is taxes and what is taxation? What is taxes? What is taxation? Who is this person? OG, you're welcome. Regina, you're welcome. So what is taxes? Who can tell me what's taxes? I've explained taxes, but how does it different from taxation? Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Am I muted? Hello, can you hear me? Can someone just unmute and speak?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, can you just give me the differences between the two?
I would say tax is a compulsory payment imposed by the government tax. Then taxation, I don't really know much about taxation. Maybe it's like financial obligations to citizens or something.
All right, thank you for that. Is there anyone that I want to try? Okay, not to waste much time. Taxation is just the process of collecting taxes, right? The process of you taxing the incomes or capital of individuals and corporate individuals. That is what taxation is all about. Now we have features of a good tax system, right? What are the things when you see taxes, when you leave Nigeria and you go to other client, what are those things that you see in their tax system that makes you say, oh, this is tax? What differentiate taxes from levies? Some of us here make payments when we get to religious centers. Is that tax? Is that a levy? What is the difference between both of them? What are those things that you see that you say, oh, this is tax and this is not a levy? Number one is that it is compulsory. Nobody forces you to come and pay tithe at the church, or nobody forced you to come and pay. Well, you may say by doctrine, yes, you have to pay your tithe at the church. But if you go to the mosque, for instance, the imam will just be looking at you. Nobody forced you to come and pay anything. So, but for taxes, it is compulsory. It's not something that you say, oh, I don't have money today, let me come tomorrow and pay. In as much as you are earning your income, you have to deduct that portion of the income and pay it as tax to the government. So it's compulsory. So that is one of the distinguishing factors between a levy and a tax. Another thing is that it's imposed by the government through its agents. Taxes are imposed by the government. It's compulsory. That's why they impose it. Every tax law in Nigeria must have a legal backing. Every tax law has a legal backing. For instance, if someone just walks into my office and tells me that, oh, okay, you are supposed to pay taxes, the first thing I want to know is on what aspect of the law, which law mandates me to come and pay you, right? That's why I used to tell people that if you have a lawyer friend, you have to, if you know you want to succeed in the world of taxes, you have to keep that your lawyer friend, especially those commercial lawyers. They are very what most of what we are saying here is what is in the law. So they have a very good depth of it that they can interpret it um, when you have issues with interpretation. So it's imposed by the government through its agents. through the agents of the government. Who are the agents? If you are earning just your own employment income, the agent, like I mentioned, is your employer, right? For instance, today, one of the agents of employer are the likes of MTN, Airtel, when it has to come with value added tax in Nigeria. So government has its own agents. Governments some deliberately somehow give us that title in certain transactions. For instance, for withholding taxes, you do a dealing with someone and the person invoice you 100 naira, and you are mandated by the government to deduct or withhold certain amount of that invoice before you make payment to the vendor. If you go ahead and pay the full amount, then you are either putting your company into trouble, or you are claiming ignorance that you don't know what exists in law. So it's imposed by the government to its agent. The government, you are the government, like people will say, we are also part of the government, right? You and I are the one that employed Tinubu. Even if you say they rigged the election, but at least we are in it already. So we are also part of the government. We can also be an agent of the government. The third thing that you have there is that it is imposed on the citizen, both individual and companies. I made mention that we have two citizens in Nigeria, right? You have the corporate citizen and you have yourself. So it's imposed by the government. The levy must be certain. That's one of the very key things that is in taxes. There must be certainty of every taxes you are paying. You must not be confused at any point in time. For instance, I must not be confused to say, if I earn 100,000 naira and another person earn 100,000 naira, I must not be confused to say, oh, I'm going to pay 5,000 as taxes. So we must know what to be paid at every point in time. So it must be certain. For instance, companies in Nigeria knows that they have to pay the maximum, up to the maximum of, say, 30% of their income as taxes. Some pay 20%, some pay 0%, depending on the circumstance that you find yourself. So it must be certain at every point in time. Like I mentioned to you, for every payment you are making as taxes in Nigeria, it is very key that it is backed up by law. You may have been hearing Finance Act 2019, 2021, 23. All of these, why do they call it Finance Act? Is because before you can tell the people that you want to get money from them, it was backed up by law. If you come to my office to tell me, come and pay so tax, I want to know the law that authorizes you to come to my office. So it's always backed up by law. And one thing about law is that nobody, like I mentioned, nobody wants to pay. Nobody wants to pay tax. There must be penalty for non-compliance. It is when there is penalty for non-compliance that people see it as something that they need to pay. That's when people see it as that compulsory levy. That's when they see the compulsion in it. If you don't put penalty and you leave the door open-ended, you are not going to get anything. Like I mentioned to you, in Nigeria today, tax is the new oil money, right? Really, no, there's no money in oil again. In fact, by some of the statistics that some of our revenue officers brought out, yes, oil companies are still topping the chart, but the gap is closing. Non-oil revenue taxes are now closing up with that of the oil revenue taxes. So that's to tell you that even when there's still money in petroleum, like you may think, the non-oil sector is also catching up with the revenue for the government. Another thing that you need to know is that for taxes, it must be for the common good of all. Tinubu cannot say today that I'm a Yoruba person and every taxes that I get in Nigeria should be directed to the Southwest. That's not how tax works. Tax collected by the government must be for the benefit of all. It has to be paid without expecting anything in return. When you go to mosque and you donate to the mosque, you see the person making the donation. He start praying. He opens his hand and start praying, God, give me many folds back, give me multiple folds back, right? If you go to the church and you drop your tithes, that's when you ask, oh God, I need good work so that I can give you more, right? But when you pay tax, you don't expect anything in return. The only thing you can get in return is have a good infrastructure. I don't want us to enter the debate of what has the government of Nigeria used the tax that we're collecting for, right? But just know that you don't expect anything in return. Even when the roads are bad, even when there is no light, as a responsible citizen, you have to fulfill your civil responsibility of paying your taxes, right? I had a cause to speak with a colleague last week. The guy came up to me and told me, Oga tax, all these tax that you have been collecting, what are you using it for? I was coming to the office today and my bumper just removed. Look at it, oh, my shock absorber is bad. What are you using all these tax for? All these things are just excuses. You don't have a choice. You just have to keep paying. Even when you don't feel it's quite unfortunate that that's how it happens in this part of the world. But if you go to other parts of the world that are developed, they're happy to pay tax because some of them, their taxes covers their children's school fee. Their taxes cover their medical bills. Some of them, their taxes covers lots of things. But quite unfortunate, like I mentioned, it's different in this part of the world. So I'm believing that with these few things that I've mentioned, you'll be able to differentiate between what taxes is and what levies are, right? You'll be able to tell them that, oh, this is what tax is, and this is what levy is. So this example are typical exam questions. They'll just tell you to define taxes, what are fees, what are fines and penalties, and to distinguish between taxes from other public charges. So the solution is here, but I am not ready to go into the solution. Right. So what is the evolution of tax in Nigeria? Yeah, tax in Nigeria before civilization, right? Before all these Western colonization era. We also have our own tax system in Nigeria. We have the southern part, we have the northern part, we have the southeastern part of Nigeria. Everybody have their own taxes that they practice at every point in time. If you go to the southern part, so what I'm trying to let you know is that taxes does not just start. Someone just start putting pen on paper and start saying, no, this is the amount you should be paying as taxes. We have it within our society, even before the colonial master came. Some of you may have been looking at all this historical movie. You'll see all those dongaris, all those Oba guards. They will come to your house. They will ask for the head of the family. They ask you for the amount you have paid as tax. If you don't pay, they will carry the head of the family. In some cases, they carry the whole of the family. This is to show you the importance of taxes, right? Like I used to tell people, they said, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So the only thing you can give government as a citizen of Nigeria, aside from the votes that you are voting to put them in power, is to pay your taxes at every point in time. So taxes has evolved throughout our history in Nigeria. Like I mentioned, in the northern part, you have zakat. That is still being practiced till today, where you see the Muslim during fasting period, they want to give out 2.5% of their income as gifts to the needy, right? You have the Kodin Kasa, you have the Shuka, you have Jangali. All these are the different types of taxes that are practiced in the northern area of Nigeria then before we were merged together. In the southern area, you see the likes of Ishakole, Uwovi, war returns, you see Owe, all these things are the kind of taxes that has been practiced in the southern area. In the eastern area, you see what they call community efforts. Community efforts, you see some of these things are related from one region to the other, right? but they are the form of taxes that is being collected at each region of the country at that point in time, before the advent of these modern day taxes that we are all used to. What is the purpose of tax? If the government is collecting tax from you, what are they supposed to be using it for? Right? The first thing is that you should know that it's one of the main source of revenue generation to the government. Governments globally, not even in Nigeria, would not be able to function if there is no money coming from you and I. So they depend on the taxes that the citizens that they get from the citizens, both the individual and the corporate citizens, to run the affairs of the economy. And quite important in Nigeria at this point in time, you'll be hearing Finance Act this, Finance Act that. That is because government needs more money. While government is chasing their own revenue, they still don't want to. They want to put everything into proper shape so that they don't bring discomfort to the people. They also use tax to control inflation. Who can explain that to me? I think I'm the only one speaking. Blessing, do you want to explain that? How do we use tax to control inflation? Regina, OG, Norma, can someone just unmute and speak? OG, do you want to speak? Oh, hello. Hello, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you,
Hello?
sir.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right, thank you for that. Do you want to speak to that question? I want to know, I just want someone to explain to me how we can use taxes to control inflation. Hello? Oh, okay. Let me just explain that to you, so we don't waste our time with that. So you quite agree with me that someone wants to speak. Norma, you want to
Okay, sir.
speak?
I would
Yeah,
say
thank you.
that since inflation has to do with the increase of goods and services, so how tax can be used to reduce inflation? Maybe probably the government use it to reduce the spending of, like, how we spend our day-to-day spending.
Yeah, right. That's part of it. That's pretty much just a bit of it. Yeah. Does anybody want to contribute? Regina, I've not heard you speak. Regina, are you there?
Sir.
OG, are you
Yes,
there?
sir.
Hi, Regina. Thank you for speaking.
Yes.
Do you want to contribute to that?
No, I just want to listen for today.
Oh, you're just listening.
Yeah.
No, as you are listening, you should be able to contribute. Just say something.
Okay. Okay, my own listen, I think the tax is just to regulate spending of money and the usage of money so that people can value money very well. I don't know.
All right. Thank you for contributing. OG, OG, I know you
Kindly
can hear
carry
me.
on. Kindly carry on, please.
All right.
I can hear you.
All right. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. All right. So, how does the government use tax to control inflation, right? You quite understand what they call fiscal policy for some of you on the call, and you know that we have two policy of the government that the government uses to regulate the economy, right? The government uses the monetary policy, it uses the fiscal policy, right? So taxes falls under the fiscal policy measure of the government. And how does the government now use taxes as an instrument of fiscal policy? right? Two things that government uses. Government uses their taxes and spendings, right? So let's assume there's, as we have in Nigeria now, very practical. We have inflation rising every day. So what the government wants is that they want to drain the citizen. So the government can pursue what they call a contractionary fiscal policy. When I mean contractionary, it means that they want to dry the economy. They want to dry funds from the economy. And how the government now use tax to achieve that? They will increase the taxes that they are getting. That's why you see government keep pursuing everybody for their taxes. They will increase the taxes that they are getting, and they will reduce their spendings. They would not want to spend much because already we have much money flowing in circulation. On the contrary, if it's the other way around, the government will maybe pursuing what they call an expansionary fiscal policy, right? Where the government reduces they increases their spending and reduces the taxes that they are getting from you. That's how they use that to control inflation. The next thing is that to control consumption pattern. You quite agree with me that the higher your taxes, the lesser the disposable income that you have at the end of the day. So if you are getting 10 naira, let's assume before Tinubu comes in, if 10 naira is your salary or 100 naira is your salary per month, and you are still earning the same 100 naira after Tinubu comes in, you quite agree with me that I don't need to explain this much. Your consumption pattern has dropped. Even when your employer would have increases from 100 naira to another to say they put 15 naira on the 100 naira, now you have 150. Still, consumption pattern has changed. If you don't change the consumption pattern that like you have now, your two things may suffer. It's either your savings suffer or your investments suffer. So if you are investing, let's assume out of your 10 naira, of your 100 naira, you are saving, say 40 naira, and you are investing 20 naira, and you are consuming another 40 naira. So you are saving 40, consuming 40, investing 20, or any other way around. If you are still earning the same thing that you are earning before Tinubu comes in as at this time, it means it's either you eat your investment and consume 60 or say 40, or you even eat your investment and your savings along. So it's taxes change consumption pattern. So the higher the taxes, the higher the lesser the disposable income. And the lesser the taxes, the higher the disposable income, right? To protect infant industries, for instance, you have lots of multinationals in Nigeria. One of the policies that the Nigerian government have passed in today's economy to protect infant industry is to separate industries, to separate companies into three, to say, oh, we have a company that they call small company, we have another set of company that they call medium company, we have another set that we call large company, right? And they are not telling you that, oh, these small companies, your own taxes is at 0%. What they are doing is that they are protecting you as a small company. That is a way of using taxes to protect infant industries. Another way of using taxes to protect infant industries is increasing taxes for the big players and reducing taxes for the small players. Right? For instance, Nigeria is import driven. We are largely driven by importation. Once government wants to protect the local ones here, they increase their import duty such that you and I would not be able to bring in something into the economy. And in that instances, what the government is doing is that it's protecting the local ones, the infant ones, the ones that cannot compete internationally with the multinational enterprises. They are trying to protect their own interest, right? We said to solve balance of payment disequilibrium. What is balance of payment in the first place? The balances of your payment between when you are taking more when you are importing more into the country, you are paying more to the outside, to the international community. And as you are paying more to the international community, you have to ensure that you are also getting more from the international community. So where there is a mismatch. When you are now paying more and getting lesser from them, then you are in a position that we call balance of payment disequilibrium. You are not helping your economy. And this is what is happening in Nigeria. You are not helping your economy. Because we are import-driven economy. We like to spend. In fact, even if you see a made in Nigeria product, people will tell you no, it's substandard. That no, I can't buy this. I've been to a market before that I met the guy selling the product, and he said, "Oh, this is Akubi. Oh, this is new one." I said, "What is the price of this Akubi?" He said, this one, when I mean Akubi, they call it second hand. That's the local slang that you get in the market. They say, "Oh, this second hand is 5,000 naira." What of this new one? They said the new one is probably 3,000 naira. You can imagine that. Why would I be buying a second hand for 5,000 naira and be going for new, and a new one produced locally in most cases is 3,000 naira, and you see people fighting to get the used products. That is the extent that our dependence on importation has gotten us to, right? That is the extent that our dependence on importation has gotten us to, that we like to pay more to the international community than what we are getting. Yeah, sometimes it's not that we like to, but because of capacity, because of the technical know-how that we have within our own economic space, may not be as equal when compared to what they have in the international space. So you want to say, "Oh, I'm getting something of higher quality than what is being made locally." So if you are doing that, if you are paying more to the international world, you're actually in a bad position internationally, right? With distribution of income, right? When all fingers are not equal, we have the rich, we have the medium class. Some of my colleagues would even tell you that there's nothing like middle class again. It's either you are rich or you are poor. So how do you expect the poor to feed if they don't get from the rich to feed the poor? So what taxes is doing is that from those that ask more, that's why, for instance, there's in Nigeria here we practice two tax system. We practice progressive tax system and we practice proportional tax system. The progressive tax system I'm mentioning here is a system where you take more, the more you earn, the more taxes you pay. So, and the lesser you earn, the lesser you pay. What they are trying to do there is to say, "Oh, if you are earning more as a rich person, if you are a rich person earning more, please pay more, such that we can use it to provide services for the poor." So taxes, in a way, it helps to redistribute income, getting more from the rich to give back to the poor, so that at least the gap would not be so widened. There are several other things that we use taxes for, right? To encourage investment, to encourage development in certain areas. Example of this is the free trade zones, right? You'll see government will tell you, "Oh, this place is a free trade zone," or like the Lekki free trade zone. All those places, government intentionally wants, if government wants to develop your area, for instance, today, just to mention that it's a free trade zone. If they say it's a free trade zone, you'll be so shocked that in the next 2 years, economic activities would have erupted in that area. So they may use it to encourage or discourage investment. They may use it to promote social amenities and several other things that you may think of that they use taxes for. For every taxes that you see, right, we have three things that makes up every taxes. We have the tax rates, we have the tax base, and we have the yield, right? So if there's someone tell you that, "Oh, boy, your tax for this month is 100,000 naira," three things are included for them to get that taxes that they call 100,000 naira. So you have the base, you have the rates, and you have the yield. What is the base? what is the rate, and what is the yield. The base is what we are actually taxing. What you are actually taxing itself. If you are looking at my screen, the base is what tax is being imposed on. That thing that you're actually taxing, the object. That object that tax is being taxed. It can be capital, it can be income, it can be a property. That base, that's what we refer to as the base. Now, what is the rate? The rate is the proportion of the base that we are taxing, that we are going to pay as tax. So if I say my income is 10 naira, I am 100 naira, and they say the tax that I'm going to pay is 10 naira, or say 15 naira, that is purely 15% of 100 naira, right? So that is my tax. That is the rate. So the rate is the proportion of the base that is being taxed. The base itself is the 100 naira, which is my income. It's not necessarily only income. There are lots of things that can form your base. It can be goods, it can be properties, it can be capital, it can be so many things from the base. So, but in most cases, what you see is the income, especially for some of us in employment, right? What you see is the income. The yield is the tax itself. That tax itself. So that from the instance that I've created now, the income, the 100 naira is the base. The 15%, which is a proportion of the 100 naira, is the rate. And that 15 naira that you are now paying as tax is the yield, right? So you have three things that makes it up. You have the base, you have the rate, and you have the yield. There are different types of classes of taxes that we have. Let me admin Temitope, when are we supposed to end this presentation, please? Sorry. Hello, Temitope, are you there? Temitope, are you there? Okay, he's not here again. All right. I just want to know the time that I have so that I can cover the things I intend to cover. All right, so we have different classes of taxes. We have classified by the incidence, we've classified by the base, and we've classified by the rate, right? You already know what the base is. You already know what the rate is, right? When I say we are classifying by rate, you should know that I'm classifying by percentage, right? What is the percentage of tax? If I say I'm classifying by base, you should know that I'm classifying by what is being taxed itself. If I now say I'm classifying by incidence, what does that mean? Tax incidence simply means who bears the burden of taxes, right? Who bears the burden of taxes? That is what incidence is. Who bears the burden? If I pay tax from my income today, who carry the wahala? Can I shift the tax I've paid to someone else, or is it my basic? Is it my liability? Who bears it? That is what we call tax incidence. So we can classify taxes based on incidence. You can classify based on base. You can classify based on the percentage that is being applied on the base, which is the rate. Right? If you're classifying by incidence, we have two types. We have direct and indirect taxes. So what is direct? What is indirect? Direct taxes that cannot be shifted, whose burden you cannot shift to anybody. You can't shift that liability for that taxes. You can't shift it to anybody. It's your wahala. It is because you have paid the tax from your own income, just like if my employer pays me income at the end of my salary at the end of the month. The taxes they have collected before paying my salary is my wahala, is my problem, is my liability. I can't shift it to someone else. I may go home and start disturbing the whole of the neighborhood. Oh, why would they collect all this money from my income? This money is too much. In fact, the road are bad, everything is bad. It is still your problem. It's still your own liability. You can't shift it. That is what we mean by direct taxes. Taxes that you pay, whose burden cannot be shifted to another person. Example, personal income tax. Payee. Example, capital gains tax. Example, petroleum profit tax. Example, there are lots of examples that you can think of. The other part is indirect taxes, right? Indirect taxes. Indirect taxes are those taxes whose burden can be shifted to another person. For instance, maybe I'm a manufacturer, right? And I buy goods. I buy goods from China, or I produce my raw material in Nigeria, anywhere I get it from. And upon getting that item, I have incurred costs plus taxes. When I finish producing my products, I can put that tax that I've paid when I'm buying that product inside the cost price that the consumer will be paying to get that item. We are buying phones, we are buying food, we are buying several. Well, my battery is getting low. Okay. All right, let me see. In 28 minutes. So I'll speed up now so that I can cover what I need to cover. All right. So we have indirect taxes that the burden can be shifted to another person. So examples of these indirect taxes are value added tax. You have sometimes withholding tax. There are sometimes you want to negotiate a contract and you tell people, oh, okay, I can't be any tax on this thing. So what you have just done is that you have shifted all the burden of that tax to that person that is enjoying your service. So you can shift it. So that's what we call, especially for transaction taxes, withholding tax, value added tax, etc., import duties, excise duties, any duties you have paid. There was a time that the Nigerian government wanted to introduce excise duties to some things that we buy in Nigeria. If they succeeded in introducing it, you don't have a choice, you have to pay, because the manufacturer would increase the value of his product with that taxes that he has paid. We can also classify tax by the base, right? By the base, like I mentioned, base is actually what is being taxed. So you are classifying by income. You are classifying by whether the income is being taxed, whether capital is being taxed, or whether consumption is being taxed, right? So we have three classification when you are looking at the base. Is either you are taxing income, is either you are taxing capital, or is either you are taxing consumption of people. That is classification by base. You can also classify by rates. That's when you can now start speaking of progressive tax. You can start speaking of regressive tax. You can start speaking of proportional tax system. Regressive tax, progressive tax, like I mentioned before, is like pay as you earn. The more you earn, the more you pay. So as your income increases, the taxes that you are paying also increases. For regressive tax, it's just the opposite of progressive, but we can't even, I don't know if there's any part of the world that they practice that, but in Nigeria, we clearly don't do regressive taxes. But proportional, yes, we do proportional, where you have a tax that have a single flat rate across the base. Then that's what we call a proportional tax system. For instance, value added tax has a rate of 7.5%. That's a proportional tax. Company income tax has a base of, for large companies, 30%, medium 20%, small 0%. That is a proportional tax. For so those are the examples that comes to my head for now. So if you in Nigeria here, you see progressive, you see proportional, right? Those are the tax classification that we have by the tax rates. I've explained this. I don't want to go ever further. So what are the principles of a good tax system? The principles, what are those things that you want to see when you see a good tax system? What are those things you want to see? You want to see economy. Economy is speaking to the fact that the government should not incur 100 naira cost to get 10 naira back. You are looking at cost benefit analysis. You are looking at what am I investing and what am I getting out of it? That's what they call economy, right? Government, that's why you see that governments have different tax office. You have large tax office chasing people with billions. You have medium tax office chasing people with lesser billions. And you have micro or mini tax office chasing people with millions. You don't want to send your staff to a place where a staff you are paying on 1 million per month and is going to chase is going there to go and be chasing 200,000 naira tax. You don't want to do that. So a tax system must be economy. There must be economic sense in every tax system. Another thing is certainty. I've mentioned that before. You must be certain as a taxpayer to know what, when, where, how taxes are going to be paid. Right? Another thing is equity. If A and B are earning 100 naira, they must be paying the same tax, provided every other things are equal. Ceteris paribus. If everything are equal between both of them, they are in the same circumstance, then they should be paying the same amount of taxes. Now you're looking at convenience. Nobody will pay if it's not convenient for them to pay. That's why FIRS will always tell you, go to your nearest tax office and make your filing. In fact, by way of convenience, the tax authority is doing a very good job in that regard. Coming up with a platform like Tax Promas, FLIRS also come up with their own e-tax platform just because they want to ensure that it is convenience for people to pay taxes so that people don't start giving excuses why they are not able to pay taxes. Right? So when asked in exams, what are the principles of taxes? These are the four I expect that you mentioned. These are the four things you should first state. And if they say give us more, then you can now go to the other ones. Taxes must be simple to compute. It must be flexible. It must not be rigid. When you see that people are suffering, you must be able to change your tax structure to get more, to reduce the suffering of people. And when you see that they are enjoying too much, you must be able to change that tax structure again to get more from them. It must be buoyant, capable. People must be capable of paying, productive. It must be a good tax system must be productive. Must give government more revenue. If tax systems are not productive, then something else is coming on board. And several other features that features or concepts that you may see, you may think of, right? The effect of tax, the economic effect of tax, this I've explained it as part of what I'm saying. There is an effect on production. The more the tax people pay, the lesser they are able to produce. The lesser you collect from them, the more they will produce. On savings, once tax increases, savings reduces. Once tax reduces, savings increases. On inflation, hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can
All
hear
right,
you.
all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm almost done with this part. Once I'm done, my battery is almost out. Once I'm done, I will tell you. I would take it off. So on inflation, I've explained that. On investment, the higher the taxes, the lesser the amount of disposable income that will be available for you to invest. On consumption, same thing. There are several terminologies that you need to take care of when you are talking about taxes. The first thing is tax evasion. Nobody wants to evade tax in Nigeria. The government is always very frowned at tax evasion because it's a criminally minded person that would want to evade taxes. Like I mentioned to you, tax is a compulsory levy. And if you have someone somewhere that doesn't want to pay that taxes, then that is what they call a case of tax evasion. It is criminal and punishable by law. We have what they call tax avoidance. Tax avoidance is not like I may look for at the law and look at ways to reduce the taxes that I want to pay. That does not mean I don't want to pay. There's a difference between I don't want to pay and I want to reduce what I want to pay. So when you are looking at the loopholes in tax laws, you are trying to reduce what you should pay legally. When you are reducing it legally, there are some people who will reduce it in a legal manner. If you reduce it illegally, that's still tax evasion. But if you are looking at the legal way,
Please, am I the only one that cannot hear anybody again?
I think his system is off or something.
It's like you're cut off. Maybe
So you can just log out.